good day, everybody. Welcome to the show. Mike is here. Garrett's here. Hello, Garrett.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Oh, it's another day in paradise.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sort of dealing with it today. I got a little bit of a headache starting, which sucks, but I don't get many headaches, so I think it's tooth-related. This
usually is.
Yeah.
You got a lot of tooth pain going on, and then all of a sudden you get rare headaches.
Yeah, you know what it is? They've got this, it's like silver. It's a temporary back here. I was saying they had to repair this broken tooth down here so that it would stop fucking with the upper teeth.
Yep.
And so they put that in. It was fine for a few days, and now it's sensitive to everything. And there's nothing worse than taking a bite of something. And now, I don't know about you, or I don't know how other people are, but I have a side of the mouth that I obviously prefer to chew on, and it's this right side. And I'm trying to force myself to just chew on the left side, and that's proving harder than I thought it was going to be.
You get used to it after a while.
Yeah, maybe. And hopefully I go back to the dentist before too long here, and they'll swap that out. And I'm hoping at that point it won't be so fucking sensitive and painful, because it's painful. Like if I push down on it, fuck. That shouldn't have done that. But yeah, every time I'm eating something or brush my teeth, it's just like that little lightning bolt. Oh, it's so fucking irritating and painful. There's almost nothing worse. That's
my brother just texted me from he's home now, but he just texted me from Washington. I think he was in state, not the DC. But
yeah,
he texted me from there that his wisdom tooth was coming in impacted.
Yeah,
as he was out there and he had to go to an ER in Washington. They wouldn't give him any meds or anything like that. I'm like, dude, you're in Spokane. Just walk outside. You'll find any drug.
Yeah,
you need.
Exactly.
It's like pretty much legal there.
So
now.
Is he going to get him removed?
Yeah, he's probably getting his removed.
Yeah,
he's going to have the same little gap in the back that I have.
Yeah, that fills in.
No, mine didn't, because they had to pull the tooth next to it, too, because it was going through that tooth.
Really?
Yep. Wow. So I had to get two of them pulled back there. I just have a weird gap.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. Teeth are the worst.
The worst.
This one, this deal up here, this bridge that they've been working on, so much better. So much better. This one's a fucking problem, so I've got to get this addressed next, but it'd be nice to, like, one at a time. Having multiple procedures is just
when they went to pull mine,
awful.
they're like, you want to get both sides done right now? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll wait a little bit.
Wisdom teeth I did all at once. I knew I knew it was going to be, what do they call that? Dry sockets? You got to be.
Yeah, I only had
stuck that shit down in there. Yep. Oh, that sucked.
I just had the one that was growing through another tooth, and I had to get that immediately.
Yeah.
Everything else I can deal with.
Yeah.
For now.
It's crazy how that works. It's like, everyone needs to get, like, you would think that God wouldn't create us with something that now when you get to a certain age, most people get that removed. You're like, what? Or tonsils or shit you don't need. It's like, it's weird.
Like, why do we have this then?
Evolution. Like I've often said, I don't know why we have toenails. Toenails to me are the big, like we have to clip them.
Yeah.
And
they kind of protect your feet if something drops on your feet a little bit.
Do they though?
Barely.
Do they? Not enough to make it worth it. Like we don't climb trees with our feet. You know, if our bottom hands worked like that,
we
it was
used to
like
climb our trees probably a lot more.
Yeah, but evolution should have just been like, we don't need this shit anymore. I get fingernails. Yeah. Like you pick at a sticker or something. Yeah. Like there's
they got
there's
a utility
point to them. But toenails, what is the fucking point to toenails?
Like the appendix, you know? It's
just
just there to kind of blow up sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe kill you.
Yep. I guess they say it used to be there for eating grass and processing more natural stuff, but
we don't do that.
We don't
anymore.
do that shit anymore.
Yeah, everything's processed.
Now it's just there as a bomb in you that you might have to get removed sometime.
Well, if I never had to clip a toenail or file one or anything for the rest of my life, awesome. And there's literally no fucking worse feeling than snagging a toenail on something.
No, I used
a sock. Oh,
here's some Garrett lore.
What?
I had to have here's some Garrett lore. I had my toenails were growing out the side when I was a kid, so they had to have a surgery to like pull them out.
You were all fucked up.
Dude, I was totally fucked up growing up. Mm-hmm. I'm still here today though.
Yeah, we're peeling the onion. You're getting there. So do they have to do surgery and then?
Yep, they had to pretty much. I don't know exactly how it was. I was like 5 years old at the time, but they had to basically pull the toenail out and put like the right one in or put it the right way or stop it from growing out the sides of the toenail. It was awful.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anyway, and as I get older, I realize that the more shit's just failing and stuff like that. But if that's the first thing I would ask God, if there is a God and I get up there by some miracle, I'd be like, dude, what's up with the fucking toenails?
Like, why'd you make me gay?
Yeah,
like if you're so against it, man,
that's
what
a
happened?
fair question. I don't have any good questions like that. Like, why'd you make me trans or gay or anything? I don't have those. But I would certainly go, dude,
Like, God, what's up with those
what
Jewish
were you
people?
thinking with fucking toenails? Answer me that. I need to know what you were thinking with toenails. Why didn't evolution take that shit out? Toes, I'm even like, couldn't you just have squared that off? Why are we dealing with toes? But there's a little
bit of a balance to him, being able to spread them out a little bit, or
and I know that's what he'd say, and so I'd leave it. But toenails, there's absolutely no excuse for those. None. So I that's one of the first questions I'd ask. It's actually the lead question.
That's
I'd
a valid
ask. It's
one.
like, what's up with toenails?
same
dude?
thing with men with nipples. I know that technically they develop
Yeah.
before we get our gender or whatever like that, but
Yeah.
at some point it's like men don't have a need for the nipple. Why do we
No.
keep them? You think
No.
like we'd start growing something over there, get something more useful in that area?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I'd stick with my toenail question first,
you?
but nips are that's fair.
I'm going with the men nips. That's gonna be my
Man
question.
nips? Yeah,
a little more
yeah.
than why am I gay?
Before, why am I gay?
Yeah, you know what?
Really?
The more I
He'd
talk
probably get to look at you and go, "Listen, faggot, that was a choice you made.
No,
Don't blame
See,
me
'cause
for this
For
shit."
me, it's like I think I'd get up there. I found like, you know what, God, the more I talk to women, the more I realized why, and that would have been my question.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
ever talk to a modern woman?
And
It's-
he's like,
it's tricky.
"Yeah, I did kind of make them an irritating, fucking annoying."
Yeah, they got
thing,
worse
didn't
over
I?"
time, didn't they, dude? I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I didn't make it a
might have
sin, I'd
switched
been
teams
gay.
too. Yeah, I might have gone the gay route as well.
Kind of made that a sin a little too soon.
No, I've said it before. I wish that I could look at a dude and be like, "Ooh, I'd like to suck his dick." It just doesn't happen for me, unfortunately. And a lot of people probably think that because I'm usually single, I've never been married, and I don't have kids. That's like gay.
Well,
like,
the running
first
joke among
ballot
the
Hall
fan
of Fame.
base was you and T-Roy were the married couple over here.
Right, sure. Well, but I'm not gay, and so it sucks because it'd be so much easier. I like hanging out with dudes more than chicks.
Yeah.
Like
most
lot
guys do.
more, a lot more.
Most chicks do too.
I mean, if it wasn't for the vagine, there's very little redeemable.
Most women
about
can't stand
chicks,
other women.
honestly. Yeah, there's not a ton of redeemableness, if that's a word. Some of them are cooler than others, but there's some that like. There's very few guys that I go, that dude is an asshole. I just don't like anything about that guy. Very few of those, but there's plenty of chicks where it's just like, "Ah, I don't want to be in a room with that thing. That thing's an
I don't even
asshole."
want to say the wrong thing around her.
Yeah, gonna take it the wrong way. This isn't a woman's hating club. It's just venting, and I blame my teeth at this point. So weekend was good. I had a good weekend. Lot going on around here still, but the weekend's kind of quiet down a little bit, so that was kind of nice. I went and visited a buddy I haven't seen in a while, and that was fun. And looking forward to this week. I know we weren't here yesterday, but I think we got pretty smooth sailing this week.
Good.
Which is nice. I think, anyways. So we'll see. But I haven't been paying much attention to what's going on, like when new movies drop or new this or that. So I'd heard about the Tom Brady roast. I knew that he'd signed on to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a Comedy Central thing anymore. Netflix is doing it, and it dropped Sunday night, and I've been watching. I'm like halfway through it, and it's fucking great. I
heard it's
love
long,
these
but
roasts.
it's good.
It's 3 hours.
I love a good roast, but it is a longer one. And from what I've heard so far, the jokes are pretty good. Like they're actually going on these.
Yeah, they are, and
Nice to see.
yeah, I agree. They do. When you're talking about someone's wife leaving you for someone else,
that's hard.
fuck it, like.
But I feel like at the
it's
beginning
rough,
of the roast,
man.
I feel like at the beginning of the roast, it's like you get one thing that's off limits, and it was between his wife and making out with his kid.
Yeah,
they don't talk about making out with his
I
kid.
don't know that they have. I'm an hour and a half in, and they haven't.
From what I've heard, because I've only seen highlights, I've went through and watched
That making out with his
moments.
son thing was fucking
I have
weird,
not
dude.
heard anything about making out with his son.
Yeah, have you watched some of it?
I've
A
seen the
little bit
videos of him doing that, but I have seen parts of the roast.
No, I mean the
Yeah,
roast. Yeah.
I have seen parts of the roast.
Nikki Glazer is the standout to me.
did great.
She's
I
fucking
thought,
awesome.
Tony Hinchcliffe was.
Haven't seen him yet. I'm looking forward
Wait
to
for
it.
it. That one's a good one.
I'm waiting for Tony Hinchcliffe and the other guy, Schultz.
Okay.
He's fucking great.
Schultz
too.
is usually pretty good.
He's come out of nowhere kind of over the last few years.
Yeah.
And he's strong, man.
Well, his thing was like TikTok too. Like he got a bunch of those. Like
Was
Matt
he-
Rife. Yeah, it's like he does really good crowd work, like Matt Rife almost, and he got famous on Instagram, TikTok, doing that shit.
It's great.
But he's
And I
actually a
totally
good
get why
stand-up.
you would
Yeah.
do crowd work and not your stuff. It makes
Yep.
sense. But then these guys get tagged as crowd work guys,
Yep.
which is so unfair, but it is what it is.
No, he
Like,
actually
Rife
has
gets
good
that.
stand-up.
Yeah, is it Andrew Schultz?
Yep.
Yeah. I've seen him. He scares me a little bit because he can go into a podcast and like take issue and call people out
Yeah.
and like, you're being fake right now. Everything about you seems fake. And I'm just like, damn, dude. Because I know what it's like to sit on the question asking side, and like
All of a
I'd
sudden
love
he
to
just
talk
starts
to
lashing.
him.
It's like, ah, shit.
Oh fuck! Now I'm the guy, and he seems serious about it. It's
Yeah.
not like a bit or a joke.
Well, he does come from the Joe Rogan camp of upcomers.
Yeah, sort of. Yep. And I think Shane Gillis is one of the best out there today.
100%.
But you know, this debate about are women funny, and for the longest time, if I'm being totally honest, I was like, no, they're
Nah.
you know, can women be funny? Of course.
Yes.
Can women say funny things? Sure. I do think there is something to it about like guys through millennia having to impress the opposite sex.
Yeah,
or,
it's like peacocking.
you know, yeah, it is. And it's like, yeah, of course the female Robin is homely as shit.
Yeah.
And the guy is just fucking glowing in red. And, you know, they got look at my green thing, you know, that bird. Like, those dudes have to fucking put on a
You gotta
show.
shut down show. Yeah, if you're not the best looking in the room, you better be the funniest.
Yeah, and so for guys, comics, it's like they've got to, if they're gonna land the chick, like you can work at fast food, you can work on the fry machine at McDonald's.
Yeah.
If you're a hot enough chick, you can land a billionaire.
Oh, 100%.
That's just the reality.
Well, not with
no
OnlyFans,
fucking
they are.
guy. I don't care what a guy looks like. If he's a fry cook at McDonald's, he is not landing the supermodel. It's just not going to happen. And so guys have had to like condition themselves and work this muscle. And so I think that's part of it. And then what I noticed was chicks trying to be guys.
Yeah.
And that's what I
I
think
was
too.
about
It's
to
like
say, that was a big no-no for comedy. At least
I
in my
can't
book, it's like,
stand
I
it.
can't stand it.
I'm not
Like
a big
Amy
fan of
Schumer's and shit like
yes, Amy Schumer. And when they came out the gate, the Sarah Silvermans and I can't say what they're like in a writing room. Maybe they're brilliant in a writing room, but much of that was like, oh, suck my dick comedy. You know, like, oh yeah, you don't like it, you could suck my dick, and it's like, okay,
Oh, the woman said it. Haha.
I get what you're doing there. But it's the same muscle that guys have worked out, and so Chelsea Handler is a good example of that. Chelsea Handler, it's like when she first came out, it was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And then quickly, it's like, no, you're an irritating twat.
Exactly.
I wouldn't watch her special.
That's what a lot of
if
it
you
comes
paid
off
me.
of. When a girl says something, it's one of those things where it's like your guy could say the same joke as a woman, and the guy'd be like, oh, haha, bro. But when you hear a chick says, it's kind of just gross. It
Gross.
just comes
It's-
off
yeah,
gross.
it doesn't come off right.
It's like, hold on.
But Nikki Glazer, what she's doing right
Genuinely
now
funny.
is like, holy fuck. She not only hit harder than all the guys that I've seen so far, and maybe that changes with Schultz and with Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe hits hard.
Yeah, I bet he does. Hinchcliffe's he's an
Hinchcliffe
absolute
hits
fucking
hard.
monster. He just is. He's a killer. And I'm assuming Schultz will be kind of a killer.
He's pretty good.
But I got to be honest too. Bert Kreischer is losing me.
I can't stand him anymore.
Really?
He was, and the worst part is too, is I brought him to my family almost like, hey, check out this comedian. Because
Yeah.
we're always looking for new things to watch. It's like, check
Sure.
out this new comedian I found, Bert Kreischer. He's got this machine joke. It's actually funny.
Yeah, the
like, I
story
went through
was
all this-
great.
Yeah, great story, whatever. And then as he kept going, I kept feeling like, man, I feel like I feel like an asshole for bringing this guy
Well,
into my household.
I wouldn't feel like that. And I get it. You know, my dad
like, I
was
promise he was funny at one
my
point.
dad was turned off from Bert Kreischer from the get. And I think Bert is an interesting guy. I've liked some of his stuff, but lately I'm just like,
Yeah.
When I think of like world class hitters, and you see it's not there yet, but it's gonna be. It's like Burr 20 years ago. Like Bill Burr, even though I have my doubts about him going forward, for a 10-year span, he was the fucking goat.
He was pumping out good stuff every single brand new,
Killer.
great shit every time.
I think that what's his name is picking up the baton. Shane Gillis is picking up that baton and going there. I think Landau can be one of those guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Landau is legit heavy hitter.
Yep.
And like, oh, give it a few years. Wait till this goes further. I think Patrice O'Neal was one special from that.
Yeah.
One. I think his next special, and I've told everybody who will listen, was going to define a
No,
generation.
Patrice was fucking amazing.
Patrice was that guy, and we fucking lost him one special too early. But Bert, Tom Segura,
And you know what the worst part about Bert is? It's like he got the machine joke out, and that's it. That's now all he has.
Yeah.
He almost does a
The
joke.
shirt
it's like
off
his free
thing.
bird, It's like he has to do that joke at every single show
Yeah.
for the rest of his life. And it's like, okay.
Well, the shirt off thing too. As soon
Yeah.
as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this doesn't age well. This doesn't."
You're going to look back at this.
I
one,
know
buddy
it.
boy.
I know it's a standing ovation bit now, but that's not going to age well.
Yep.
And you want the comedy to stand on its own. And
Exactly.
and I don't think he was doing it as like, "Oh, this is my bit. I'm going to wear I'm the funny hat guy, or I'm
Yeah.
the shirtless." I don't think that's what it was. but he kind of got trapped into having to do that. And it's
just
just like
trapped in that party boy thing where it's like, now it's like, we got it at first. It's kind of funny. Like, oh, here's some crazy party stories. And now it's like, dude, you're almost 50 now. Just like,
and I don't mind the party stories. If they're good stories, that's great. And he's a decent storyteller, but there's something about it that's just kind of off. But, and you know, the trouble is, I don't know if Nikki Glazer's stand up on her own on stage is going to be at that level.
Yeah.
But her roasting skills are fucking dynamite, man.
Good.
Really strong. Really strong. Like, outshined everybody so far. There's quite a few. Anytime an athlete gets up there, I'm just
you're like, oh, I hope somebody else wrote your jokes for you.
Yeah. And even when, 100%, because I know the people that have written their jokes for them, you know, and they're not writing any of those jokes.
No.
Literally not a single joke are those athletes write them. Unfortunately, they can't deliver them either. Nope. And so these people, I was going through this list today of winners and losers in the roast of Tom Brady. If you haven't seen it, it's the Tom Brady roast, greatest roast of all time, obviously a play on the GOAT.
Yeah.
And it's on Netflix. It's number one. I'm sure lots of shows that you listen to are talking about it right now. So it was live on Netflix Sunday night. I didn't watch it Sunday night, but I started watching it last night and this morning, and I'll watch the rest of it later. So it is kind of ruthless and you know,
good.
Good. It's I do at some points. I'm like, oh my God, like that feeling when someone leaves you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
bad.
It's bad. It's bad. It's never good. And the idea of someone else fucking what was your thing is brutal. That's to me anyways.
A lot.
And there's so much of that. Like she's fucking a kung fu guy, jiu-jitsu, and I'm just like, oh. I don't want to know who my ex-girlfriends are fucking. I don't want to know. It's like,
I think it might have been Hinchcliffe, but he said something about like he can kick your ass while eating your wives.
Yeah. Like, no, it wasn't Hinchcliffe, but I know the joke you're talking about, which was great. But to me, I'm just like, oh God, it just seems so brutal. When you're talking about Deflategate or you know that bullshit, who cares? You know, you're talking about you know, Tom Brady's so hot that acts, you know, that kind of stuff. Like whatever. But boy, oh boy, when you're talking about your girl fucking someone else, that is just so hard.
Oh, as I said, that was Nikki's joke.
Was it Nikki's?
Yeah, that was Nikki's joke.
Yeah. And she delivered. So they've got a list of winners and losers. Winner Bill Belichick. I haven't seen Bill Belichick yet, except for the open of the special. Features Bill addressing. Well, I don't want to give it away. So if you haven't seen it, you can check it out for yourself. Expectations were low. This is according to this article.
It's mostly athletes. I kind of didn't watch it because I thought it was just going to be stupid sports roast.
Yeah,
It turned out to be funny.
The comedians are great.
Oh, yeah.
Expectations were low for the ex-Patriots coach, known for his grunts and one-word answers at press conferences. That, to me, has gotten very old. And Bill Belichick, like, I get it. The press sucks to deal with. But he hasn't handled it well, and I don't think he's but, you know, if he comes out and does real interviews and his contributions on the Pat McAfee show during the draft were good. And, you know, but I thought him being in the 10-part Apple Plus documentary they did called The Dynasty, I thought that documentary was great, and it could have completely been done without Bill Belichick. You didn't need him. He added nothing. It's years after the fact. If he can't be open and honest about these things that happen and give his take, even if it's in defense, like this Deflategate pisses me off because the truth is blah, blah, blah. We couldn't say it at the time because Lee was investigating and there was they wanted us all to shut up about it. Like, that'd be great, but he didn't give shit. He gave nothing.
Yeah, it's
less than
like
nothing.
That Big E towards the end where it's like, dude, why are you even here? Just fucking
stop.
Go home. You're done.
I wouldn't go that far with Easus, but I know what you mean. I know. I was busting his balls for that. But with Belichick, it was like, okay, you just took up 2 minutes to say nothing. And when people asked you legitimate questions, you had nothing to say. When people ask you, like, you didn't murder people, but your fucking tight end did.
Yeah.
And it looks, the more we look back on it with clear vision, we know Aaron Hernandez was a real fucking problem at Florida. And people swept it under the rug because he was a great athlete and could catch balls really well. But it went further and further and further to the time that he eventually became a double, triple murderer and committed suicide in prison. He's dead now. The story ends. My guess is there is humongous amounts of CT
They said
involved.
it was some of the most CT they've ever seen in an athlete.
Exactly.
At
that age, they're like, holy shit, you would think this guy was 80.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot to that. But why Bill Belichick can't, on the record, make comment about it now? Like, who the fuck are you protecting?
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. It happened. We all know way more about the story today than we did 10 years ago. And so you can't give your opinion on it?
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck not? Then why are we talking to you? If you could add no color to any of these stories or perspective to any of these stories, there's no point in having you here just because your name's Bill Belichick. So that, I thought he was worthless in that. I haven't seen him on the roast yet. So they claim he came to play, dropping a one-liner right off the bat by calling out his portrayal in the Apple docuseries, The Dynasty. I'm so honored to be here for the roast of Tom Brady. It's not to be confused with the roast of Bill Belichick on the 10-part Apple documentary, which is cool. But I think it was deserved. The shit he took from that, I think he didn't help himself. Apparently, he also brought up Alex Guerrero in the roast. Haven't seen that yet, but I know that was a big sore spot. He was Tom Brady and TB12's personal trainer, and that interfered with the athletic training staff with the, this dynasty franchise. And it's like, you don't want some fucking guys. Yeah. And our guys are giving you tried and tested historically, plans of attack for recovery from injury. You don't want some rogue dude coming in going, oh, no, scrap everything they've told you, take these vitamins and wheatgrass, and you'll be better. You're like, I totally understand why the head coach would be like, fuck this dude.
You don't want that Steve Jobs treatment.
No.
Fruit smoothies will cure cancer.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a lot deeper than that, but I can totally understand why a head coach of a franchise like that, with as much on the line as he'd have, would not want Tom Brady's guru guy coming in. And while it worked for Tom, I can totally understand why Belichick would not be a fan of that. And I know that led to the split in a lot of ways between the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So anyways, so they claim Bill Belichick was a winner. I'll check that out when I see it. Danny Amendola, loser. Belichick kept his burns of former Patriot players mostly off the field with one exception, Danny Amendola, and then he takes a couple shots at Danny Amendola.
Yeah.
I don't really have an opinion on Danny Amendola. The one that irritates me, and you probably won't have any idea who it is, but Julian Edelman.
No.
Julian Edelman is he's like a Jewish little speedster, awesome wide receiver.
Okay.
And so Danny Amendola is a white receiver, and part of the jokes were, Tom Brady's so racist he wouldn't even have black receivers, like the whole league has that kind of thing, which is funny, whatever. Danny Amendola I haven't had a problem with. I haven't seen him do this bit. They claim he's a loser for whatever. But the other one, there's just something about Julian Edelman that rubs me the wrong way. Like, he wants the spotlight so bad. Like, he had a documentary done on him that he was a big part of. And
but
you can tell Tom Brady didn't want to be a part of it, but it's like, all right, this guy's not going to leave me alone until I go on the record.
I'm on a team with Tom Brady, so that's my ticket to fame.
Seems like a giant blowjob of Tom Brady every time I see him. So, whatever. But at the same time, I get it. If I'm doing something and I know the benefit to having Drew Lane involved.
Yes.
If I can have him on the air here.
I get it.
Like, I understand why Amendola or these guys would want Tom Brady involved. I totally understand that, but there's something that rubs me the wrong way about it. Randy Moss, they claim, was a loser. Moss is a dynamic personality. I'm going to stop the guy with the article right there. I do not think of Randy Moss as having a dynamic personality. Great receiver, whatever. I think he annoys me in everything he does, from his stupid bit of, you got mossed. Dumbest bits, one of the dumbest bits on TV that they all act like is awesome. I've always hated that stupid bit. He was excellent in the Dynasty. I imagine these guys' storytelling is second to none when they're on the record talking about, when they give you a
a tale of their time in the sports leagues.
Yes, totally makes sense. And I imagine it's like that in any sort of entertainment field.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Fred what it's like behind the scenes at the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
Of course I do. I bet those stories are amazing.
I want to hear some of that nerd stuff. What was a
Dude.
malfunction or a failure? That's not comedy, though.
No. How fun is it to hear, when you're telling stories, behind the scenes type of things, because the Patriots famously had a very closed locker.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the press unless you absolutely, you have obligations to the press per the league that you have to do and make yourself available for. Do those, nothing more. Don't talk about yourself. Never talk about a teammate. Like, that culture worked for them. But now, after the fact, when you guys are retired, you want to swap stories about what it was really like in the locker room with so-and-so and so. Awesome. I could listen to even Randy Moss tell those stories. But when I hear him on game day or whatever dumb shit he's doing for the NFL, it's drivel to me. It doesn't add much. I've never been a fan. So I can't imagine I'm going to be a big fan of his stand-up that someone wrote for him. They talk about Nikki Glaser being a winner, and to me, she was a star of the show so far. Kim Kardashian.
I heard she got booed the moment she stepped up.
Yeah, which I thought was weird. I was going to ask you what that's about, if you know, because I don't follow Kim Kardashian.
I think everyone's sick of her, and anytime she shows up anywhere, they're all kind of like, get her off. I don't care.
Kim Kardashian is the weird thing where I went from, because I never watched the show, I understood her popularity, but everything about her irritated me. And then as time went on, I started to respect her more and more when she's fighting for people.
Yeah.
Using her name for some well-deserved justice and jail reform. Like, I could get behind that. It's like, okay. And at that point, she's already probably a billionaire.
Yeah.
She's made her money off her ass and her sex tape and whatever, and her stupid TV show.
Her and Kanye were the first ones to go in there with the trying to get a lot of people out for like low-end drug offenses.
Yeah.
It's like that was their whole fucking thing. I was like, oh, shit.
It was what Jay and I talked about forever, too, early on with the Trump thing. Like, dude, if you just shut the fuck up and go in there and talk
to the motherfucker,
him,
he'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, you could. The Democrats could have made the Trump presidency every bit their own. Yep. They could have made it anything they wanted. They chose a different route, which was he's Hitler and Satan combined.
Attack, and
that's
justify him.
It was a rare and weird scenario we found ourselves in, where you literally had a Republican in name only. Yeah. Like, when you talk about Republican in name only, that's Trump. I was talking to Ed Grable came by over the weekend, and I was talking to him about it. I'm like, dude, you realize it was just as likely, like, yes, Trump ran as a Republican. He could have just as easily run as a Democrat. And it'd be interesting to see how Dems felt about Trump if he was just on their team. Because I don't think Trump ever gave a shit about preventing gay marriage, for one. I don't think that dude ever gave a fuck. I don't think he really gives a shit about abortion at all. He's probably had a dozen.
Name another Republican president who has freed a rapper for a drug offense, like a famous rapper.
I wish he would have freed a couple more people, but I think Kim Kardashian, for her part and for all her faults, I think she played it perfectly. Like, hey, fuck it. I could go on MSNBC and be a darling just by bitching about this guy, or I can walk into his office and go, how do we fix this?
Yep.
And it was like, dude, that's the key right there. That's it.
It sucks too, because as much as good she's trying to do, it's built on the back of a sex tape and then a bad reality show.
But you know what? I don't even have a problem with that. I know as humans we're all flawed and we're all fucked up, especially when we're young. And so to me, it's like, hey man, she got there how she got there. You can't stay there. Yeah. Like she has for 20 years without being able to bring something to the table. Now, she's got good genes. Her dad was a very famous attorney. So, it doesn't shock me that she'd go into law. And doing what she's doing, like, it's not about, can I work at a firm and make a partner and make millions of dollars myself? She's already got that. Yeah. So it's like, can I use my ability to get into a room with anybody for good? Can I do some good? And to me, I respect that. Now, if you've got a bunch of stories about what a monster Kim Kardashian is, feel free to email them, because honestly, I don't read the tabloids. I don't watch the TV show, and I don't know much about her except what I pick up here and there, and I was impressed with that. Walters at DetroitCast.com. So, going on, who roasted Tom Brady? Drew Bledsoe. I thought Drew was fine. Kevin Hart is doing a decent job. I'm not a big fan of Kevin Hart's stand-up. I think he's good as the master of ceremonies in this.
Yeah, I think he's a good MC. That's about it.
Yeah. His movies don't bother me that much.
No, but he does make a lot of them. That was most of the jokes. Is they're just like, and then Kevin Smith or fucking
Hart.
Kevin Hart will. It's like then Kevin Hart will be in any other movie they throw at him today.
Yeah,
it's like anything you throw at him, he takes.
Yeah, and I thought Nikki fucking hammered him on that shit. She went pretty hard at him on that.
I always love those.
Julian Edelman, I haven't seen him yet. Randy Moss, I thought is garbage. Jeff Ross, I used to like Jeff Ross a lot more than I do now. I almost feel like he's
just the roast guy now.
Yes, and I think he's got some ownership stake in the roast.
That makes sense.
Thing. I want to say I should have looked this up, but I think like he's been given that title as like the master roaster, and so he's involved with all of them, and I think he's got some ownership of it. I think he was better and years ago than he is now, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Tony Hinchcliffe, I know will be great. Sam J. Are you familiar with Sam J?
No, I was just looking up. Man, I'm losing all my. It's
Jeff
been
Ross?
a long day. Jeff Ross. I was just looking up Jeff Ross. He doesn't own anything in that, but he is known as just the roast guy.
Yeah,
he's been in so many of them. He's been involved in them.
Something somewhere.
It's almost like now if
Comedy
you have a
Central,
roast, you want to pull him in.
Well, that is for sure true. But I thought there was something he did. I could be wrong, but I swear there was something that tied him to the roasts as a brand that he's a part of. And I can't remember what it is. But Sam J. And I was like, it looks like a lesbian black comic.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking the worst. And I wrote down in my notes, maybe a man, maybe a woman. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
One of those true Pats
I think I
from
heard
SNL. I think it's a lesbian chick dressed like a guy with a dude's shaved head.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And I think it said it's a lesbian now. And it mentioned having a strap on.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, it was something. I remember that joke.
I thought whatever it is has impressed me so far. Halfway through it's set, and I'm like, it's coming pretty hard here, and it's not bad. It's not bad. And I'm like, I went in preconceived, and I was like, took one look at it, and was like, oh, this is going to be nonsense.
Well, somebody else made the joke too, like, hey, we got the black lesbian whatever over here. Means Netflix crossed off everything on the list in one person.
Yeah, there you go. But honestly, I'm looking at it, and it's not holding any punches.
Yeah.
And it's going kind of hard. And so I'm like, cool. I'm just fine with that. If you can bring it, I don't give a shit what you identify as. So Rob Gronkowski, I'm sure he'll be fine. Nikki's joke about him and crypto, fucking hilarious. Hilarious. I mean, they're using it in all the promos.
Yeah.
Andrew Schultz, I'm sure will be great. Robert Kraft, I don't know.
You can't joke about him.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. We'll get to that in a sec.
Yep.
Burt Kreischer, Tom Segura,
they're
fine.
both disappointing to me. Tom Segura especially, he disappointed me. He used to be super fucking funny. His stand-up was great, but he became such a douche about his money and calling people poors that I hate him.
Yeah.
I can't watch
I haven't seen a lot of that, but there
anymore.
is something I kind of agree with.
He does nowadays. All he does is talk about how everyone who isn't at his level is a poor. He's got a new Rolex. He got to show off his new car every day. It got to a point where, I think they're Burt and Tom Segura do a podcast that used to get like $2 million a month.
Yeah.
It's down to like $900K. It's nothing.
Really? Two Bears, One Cave? Yeah.
They're losing a lot of their fans.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because I remember when they were at the top, and I remember checking out Two Bears, One Cave, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is great. And then it took a turn where we're having conversations about our new $100 coffee mug and our exclusive
Bert's
coffee.
got his new liquor coming out.
Yeah, of course. Going right down the checklist. Dude, follow your mentor, Joe Rogan. He'll show you how to do this without turning into
Joe
something.
managed to make it this far without being a complete asshat.
Yeah. That's interesting because I don't think I'd go upstairs and turn on Two Bears, One Cave because the days of just like, there's just something about when you're coming up. You know how when anytime it's like, oh, so-and-so got hired at SNL.
Yeah.
Now they're going to scrub everything that made them get to that point. They're going to scrub all those jokes. They're going to totally turn it off. That's kind of the feeling I get with these guys. Like when you're coming up and you're hungry, you're fucking going, man.
Yeah.
And now it just feels a little different.
I feel like they have this aura about them where it's like when they're coming up and hungry, it's like they shut the door on their way up and not let anyone past them. And I kind of get that from Tom Segura.
I don't know.
Especially.
I'm not going to go on record and say that. I don't know that to be true. That's fine. You can say that.
I'll fight them later.
I don't know that that's true, but there's something off there. There's something off there. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to us right now that are fans of both of those guys and don't even know what we're talking about.
If they're fans, they're fans. But
yeah. But there's just something not quite on right there. And maybe it's all the success and all the money. When I went and did Normal World in Texas, we got off the air and they had us take some pictures together for their promo stuff. And who is it? What's her name? Angela?
Yeah,
Angela. Sweet chick. And The Machine had just come out, the movie, which is Bert's movie. And it's sort of a
it's like a kind of retelling thing.
It's not retelling that story, but it's from the perspective of 20 years later.
Yeah.
So, and I thought the movie was fucking awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
I thought so too.
I didn't think it was funny at all. I hated it.
I did too.
And Angela, Mona, Jonathan, Angela was like, "Oh my God, Dave, this weekend when you have time, you've got to watch The Machine. It's awesome." And I was just like, "Ugh."
Why?
I just looked at her and I was like,
"She's a woman.
Really?" She
Different
goes,
standard for comedy.
She's like, "You didn't like it?" I was like, I wasn't gonna beat the shit out of it.
I would have.
I didn't even know her that well.
I
liked her, and I still like her. What am I saying?
I'm one of those people where I'll go in on something even if somebody somebody who I'm friendly with is super positive about something and I just don't like it. I'll just tell them. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, and I sort of did. I was like, wasn't my cup of tea.
I was like, no, that movie fucking sucked. I mean,
because that story is so good. If you wanted to retell that story from a college age kid's perspective, going to Florida State and being named like #1 Partier of the Year by Rolling Stone magazine.
It was Van Wilder. Remember they based it on Bert Kreischer.
Yes, 100%. You're right. If they wanted to go back and tell that story and then lead up to present day, that would have been. I think that would have worked because that story is in demand everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
But the way they did it, I just thought was dumb. I'm sure some fans are out there of it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell. I've about had it with Will Ferrell and Ron
what's funny
Burgundy,
too is last night we just watched The Other Guys, that Will Ferrell movie, and it was one of those things where like I watched it and I was thinking about it the whole time, like, man, Will Ferrell really fucking fell off after this one.
Yeah.
Like, after The Other Guys, there really wasn't anything that good.
Yeah. And Will Ferrell, I think during his SNL, like I would never watch a Will Ferrell stand-up. Does he even do stand-up?
No,
I would
doesn't.
never. No interest, even in the
stand-up.
height of his career.
He is a good character guy, but
he's a great character.
He's been playing Ron Burgundy since like the early 2000s.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Like I don't know, whatever. I'd rather Will Ferrell comes out and roasts. That would make more sense to me. But he seems to love doing this. Like
he's a
going
big
into that character.
Guy, yeah. So
made
I heard
sense.
A story from
SNL
Will Ferrell.
guy.
This is coming from another podcast I listened to called Why Are They Laughing, where they just break down comedians' lives pretty much all the way up to a point. And they did an episode on Will Ferrell, and they had a whole thing where he was doing his Ron Burgundy character, and you wouldn't break it. So some of the guys at SNL literally
method guy.
Yeah, no, they jumped him in his dressing room or something, like started trying to pull his clothes off and shit, like rape or whatever, just to see if he could break character. No, the whole time I'm being raped.
Yeah, as Ron Burgundy.
They're like literally he would not break character even when they jumped him.
He had to know they weren't actually going to rape him.
No, but they were going pretty far. I think Tracy Morgan was sitting there just like, you need another cigarette or something? Like he was in the doorway trying to keep watch.
Yeah.
They were fucking with him. He would not break character. So
that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, of course. He's in Method. Doesn't surprise me.
No.
There was only one, Ben Affleck too. I haven't seen this. I haven't got to that point yet. But Ben Affleck, I know, a Boston guy, big Patriots fan.
I just don't see him as being funny.
No, not at all. But
he's a dramatic actor.
Yeah, but if someone's written decent enough jokes for him, he can probably deliver them, and certainly better than an athlete can.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's any good, but only one joke drew a rise out of Brady, and part of me thought this was ridiculous, but Jeffrey Ross made some reference to Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, and the massage thing, which was always really weird. Like he was paying chicks to give him massages, whatever that story was. And So the joke was something along the lines, Tom became a Patriot, moved up to New England. The famous story about, hey, I'm the best decision your organization's ever made. Would you like a massage?
Yeah, that was it.
He tagged it with. After that joke, Brady did stand up and got in Ross's ear and said, don't say that shit again. And it's hard to know if that was like he was joking himself when he said that. I honestly got the feeling
it kind of felt like
that it was like, I think Brady's being serious here. Like,
it kind of felt like that slap, that don't, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Like,
yeah.
Are you being serious? Like, oh shit.
And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if that was real or not. And if Brady was being serious, or if he was being serious, he didn't do a very good job of trying to hide it.
Yeah.
When he covered his mouth, he didn't really whisper. It was clear what he said to everybody that watched it.
According to the Independent 4 hours ago, Tom Brady said he was just having fun when he told the comedian not to tell that
Okay.
joke. So they're saying he was being playful about it.
Yeah. Okay. That would make sense because that was my.
Oh yeah, they already got clips coming out with Jeff Ross saying it was part of the joke. He didn't realize at the time, but later on, Tom came up to him and said it was part of the joke.
Okay. Makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because that got me going for a second. I was like, ooh, they're gonna fight?
Yeah.
No, I want to see another slap.
I wasn't thinking that, but it would have been interesting if it was like, oh, there is something that exists even in the roast format that is like so out of bounds.
Making out with his kid.
And yeah, maybe. And Brady could, Brady would have an argument like, hey, it's one thing to go after me and my immediate wife or kids, and my team, but this guy has nothing to do with that. And going after him with something that's kind of clouded in mystery already is out of bounds, and that's not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these billionaires, I'm sure, will be just fine. So.
I'm sure they're all right.
Yeah.
They'll get over it.
All right, let's get on to other things. But I recommend watching. If you're a fan of those roasts, I think they're very cool. Personally, I like those. So
I do.
Yeah.
I usually wait for somebody I'm interested in, though. Sports guys is fun and all, but I just don't care much about sports.
Well, it's not the sports guy. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but it's gonna be you get a lot of Deflategate jokes, and that's just never anything I followed. It was things about Tom Brady's life, and because I just never followed sports, I never got invested in Tom Brady and his life. So when they're joking about him, it's like I get the joke, but also I'm just not invested, so I didn't care. Yeah,
I get it. If they were to put that into my world terms, if they were roasting the Kardashians,
it's like
it would be like, I guess I know about the tape, or I know you had a TV show that a lot of people like.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't
be able to
give a shit
at
all.
Jokes,
I'd be like, okay, whatever. I do give all the roasts a chance because it seems like if they're getting someone to do it, it's going to be big leagues.
Yeah,
it's not just anybody. It's they're going after Donald Trump or Tom Brady. Like they're going after big fucking fish, and that is cool. And to see those people kind of get cut down and shit on,
and see a bunch of mainstream people like drop some harder jokes that you wouldn't expect in like a stand-up special for somebody trying to save an image. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's a spicy one. We need that now.
Yeah. I'm tired of being the only one saying that.
I know.
Shit
I'm like,
did
you just drop faggot on Netflix? I'm in.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it. Who did that? Did Shane Gillis drop faggot recently? And did he drop that in his special? He might have.
Maybe. I can see him doing that, but he can get away with it.
Yeah.
Any of them can, man. If it's funny, it serves the joke, then go for it.
Yeah. We're getting closer to being back to normal, I think.
Good. In
some of those respects. I really do. Where people didn't know where they stood for so many years. And I kept telling people, like, just don't apologize and ignore them, and they go on to someone else. If you don't engage, then it's not worth their time.
What was it, like 2 months ago, Matt Rife was getting canceled, and he just said, all right, here's my apology. And you posted a link to a bunch of special helmets and then left it like that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Drop
a mic. You're a comedian. You make jokes.
Yes.
And I respected him for that.
And I totally get that. And I've said it all along. Like, you can get away with saying faggot. Just don't apologize.
No.
And when the mob comes to you and starts calling you homophobic and whatever, just be like, fuck them. Here's your apology. Eat all the dicks. How about that, faggots? You come back with that, and they'll leave you alone knowing they can't get your goat. But if you give them an inch, they've already proven to be so petty that they'll never let you live that down. And if you're not afraid to lose your career, if you're not afraid of losing sponsorships, You can tell those people to go fuck off, and they will. They'll move on to something else.
Yep.
They won't even bother going after this special because every one of the hard hitters, you think Nikki Glazer or...
No, they're comedians.
They're not going to back down. You think Andrew Schultz gives a shit what you think?
That's the good thing about, know, having way too many podcasts nowadays. It's like, no matter what happens, any of these comedians try and get canceled, they'll just hit one of their friends' podcasts and get right back in good graces.
Yeah.
Because there's so much people who are listening to those things who want to support the actual funny comedians.
Ignore the toddlers.
Yep.
Ignore the toddlers. They don't have much to say. And, we're seeing more and more examples of this playing out, too. There was a recent Ipsos poll and Rasmussen. Actually, I think it was just Rasmussen on this one. But a new poll shows Americans overwhelmingly, not shocking at all to me, if you ask, want Disney to return to family-friendly, wholesome entertainment, stop making programming about sexuality, and pushing the Alphabet Mafia agenda.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll sign on.
Yeah. I think that's true for most people. It doesn't surprise me. It seems out of place, like you're going into a place that no one asked you to go.
Yeah.
And you have historically not been involved with. So when you get out of what you do, like if that's what Disney did all these years, and they were always like that woke group, and they were super popular, good for them. Stick to your guns. But no, you made your bones being family friendly programming,
yep.
wholesome, and kind of just mainstream vanilla across the board.
You're Disney.
Yeah, you're Disney. So, in a national survey by Rasmussen, adults were polled as to whether they agree or disagree with the following statement. Disney should return to wholesome programming and allow parents to decide when their children are taught about sexuality. The result found that 71% of American adults agreed. Yeah. I'd love to know who those 29% clowns are.
People who don't like to pay attention to their kids.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
It's
like you're just shitty parents.
Yeah.
You want
I'll just let the internet tell
corporate
you how to
America
live.
to tell you how to behave, and
I'll let a multi-billion-dollar company tell you how to live your life.
Boy, oh boy, that's sad. Yeah, I think that 29%, they would disagree with this, but I think you are just outing yourself as a really shitty parent.
You're the person who
that's
puts
relying
on
on
the
television
iPad whenever you don't feel like looking at your kid.
Yeah, or just turns on the TV to be your babysitter, your lifetime babysitter. That's what you're doing, and so you want all the
Disney
programming to do the heavy lifting for you.
Or the overly gay people who think that everything needs to be gay.
Right. Those people are a special breed.
I hate those people.
A very special breed. I know. It's why I like you, because you're not a crazy person.
No, I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And if you know what, and I've always said it since the beginning, if like a show has a gay character, serves the story, or it's just part of the show, cool.
When it seems forced, that's when you lose me.
It's always forced.
Yeah.
Every single time it feels forced. It always feels like that character didn't need to be there. Or they could have just made him a straight guy and had the same thing, but they had to make it very obvious he's gay.
And when you have the gay guy and the trans guy and the wheelchair person and the Asian person
now I see
all
what
in the
you're
same room, it's like, okay.
All in the same person most times.
All in the same room for sure. It's like, wait, is nobody going to address this? Like, this is not, you realize this is not normal. And nobody likes being preached to.
Yeah.
Nobody likes being told, like, oh, this is the norm, get on board. It's like, nah, we're all smarter than that. Yeah. We know. So let's see here. They want 71% of adults agreed, and they want wholesome programming, give the power back to parents to decide when their children are taught about sexuality. That number includes 53% who strongly agreed.
Yep.
22% disagreed with this sentiment, and 10% strongly disagreed.
Oh.
That 10% is the real problem.
Yeah.
You know, you strongly disagree with that. You want Disney force feeding your children about LGBT.
Like, the way that question's written isn't
Holy
even
fuck.
weird. It's like, hey, should you tell your kids about this shit, or do you want Disney to tell your kids?
Yeah, you want
like,
corporation Disney to
I feel
do
like
it?
it should be 100% like, hey, you should tell your kids when you're ready to tell your kids about this shit.
How about you write
your
great
kids.
stories? That's what you made your bones on.
Yeah.
How many times did Disney have flops back to back
Not back in the day.
through the years? Can you think of any time? I can't.
Anytime after 2010, yes. But
Yeah. Oh,
before
yeah.
that, no, they're pretty solid.
No, before that, for 70 fucking years.
Yeah.
Disney put something out, and it was an event.
Yeah.
It was special when Disney put something out. Now, tanking. Should tell you everything you need to know, that people don't like it. Another question asked about Disney exec Karen Burke's statement in 22 that the company has many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories. Is such programming appropriate for children under the age of 12? I would say under the age of 20.
Yeah.
Fuck off. I guess actually that's fair. Under the age of 12, that's a pretty good standard for Disney. I think most of your audience is 12 and under, probably. You know,
I'd say for like those Disney like princess movie thing, like the early Disney movies.
But they've since.
They've done some teen stuff, like more Bewitched, things like that. Like things where it's like you can get away PG-13.
I'm thinking they've since bought catalogs, and now Disney owns Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to get 50, 60, 70-year-olds that like Disney because they grew up with Star Wars and loved it. But as far as like original Disney programming, 12 and under is probably safe.
And even if they are doing the Star Wars thing and they're going to make an adult thing, just make it its own thing. Stop trying to Disneyfy the thing that was already existing.
Yeah. 54% who participated in this survey believe such programming is not appropriate for children under 12. 33% thought it was appropriate. 13% said they were not sure. The not sure's always scare me in this.
Yeah.
First off, you stayed on the phone with Rasmussen long enough to hear the questions, and then your answer was, I'm not sure how I feel about this. This is a pretty fucking easy one. I mean, unless you're just calling like the retard home. I don't know, like, is there a home that stashes only retards?
Yeah, it's like one of those halfway houses. Like, all right, pass the phone to the guy to your left.
So you've got a room full of severely retarded individuals, and you happen to call them up and like pass the phone around going, not sure. Like, if that's what happened, okay, but I'd like to know. Like, oh yeah, then we reached the retard house down the block, and we caught 20 of them, and they all said, not sure.
To be honest, though, anyone who gets past the beginning of a robocall or anything like that probably is a little brain dead.
The cool thing is this seems to be a shift, even in just the last couple of years, a 20% shift, by the way. So what that tells me is people, and I'm assuming you're mostly dealing with Americans, especially in these surveys, people are okay with, hey, we're going to include a gay character because gay people exist and they should have representation. And people were fine with that. It's when you went so far, so fast and you went so far past just inclusion, and you pushed that far into what most people saw it as is indoctrination. And so, and all it took was paying a little bit of attention. Like, you didn't have to watch it every day. You just had to see the press releases and see the new releases and go, okay, this feels way further down the road. Pretty fucking fast, by the way. Past inclusion into indoctrination. And anybody that's not an absolute tard saw it for what it was. And so that's why I think you're seeing this 20%, which is a drastic number in one of these polls, in a matter of a couple of years.
There's an old children's book I used to get read to me all the time. It was If You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
Yeah, is that the name of the title of it?
It's basically you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask you for milk, and then he's going to ask you to get read to bed, and then he's going to ask you to get tucked in, and it just keeps going down the line until eventually he's taking your house. Yeah. That's what this feels like every single time they start this shit, where everyone's like, yeah, I don't mind giving him a cookie. Yeah. And now we're giving him our house. They're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. But when you're talking about numbers that turn over 20% in 2 years, we're talking about from 22 to 24.
I think everyone finally hit the point where they're just like, all right, that's enough. We're done. We got it. You got your rights. It's not a federal crime to be gay. Just fucking live your life and stop bothering us.
Well, and I could be wrong about this. Maybe there's flops out there that exist. But when I think of Disney Pixar, okay, Pixar, when it takes forever to produce what they're doing, right? Like, it's so incredible to look at. When you first started seeing Pixar films, it was like, this is animation on a level and storytelling on a level that is so fucking good. I don't care how old you are.
No, it's that ILM.
You're
they
impressed.
Invented 3D animation.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Pixar should never have a flop. They've got a formula.
Yep.
It's amazing. So when you see Elemental included a non-binary character, the movie had one of the worst openings in the studio's history, probably because we all know that you had a non-binary character in there.
We don't want to listen to it for another 2 hours.
Yeah. So if this is how you're promoting this movie, like, look at us, we've got a non-binary character.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Okay. How about you just have the character? The thing is, they can't say gay without doing the, oh, Jesus Christ, gay guy over the top. They couldn't have you, Garrett, in the movie.
No.
And brag that you're a gay guy, because then it's
People like, he's not a gay guy.
He's not a gay guy. He looks like a scruffy fucking...
Yeah, fun fact, most gay guys are kind of like this.
Exactly. But there's nothing you can promote unless it's the over-the-top queen.
Yeah.
The over-the-top queen does not represent most gay people.
Yep.
But for Disney and all the woke industries, they can't really promote Garrett as a gay guy because he looks like anyone else walking on the street. And unless you have a meaningful conversation with Garrett, you wouldn't know that. Now, I bust his balls all the time.
No, I know. I
it's
get
fun.
the jokes.
And Garrett does himself. But if you just met Garrett at the bar, you just think Garrett was a nice guy.
Oh, I get hit on by chicks all the time at the bar. It's fun.
I'm sure. But there's no way to promote that, like, starring gay guy. You'd be...
Starring the worst gay guy you've ever seen.
So the only way you could do it is have a prancing fucking queen, which seems like gay face. Yeah. Honestly. It seems like
you need that Dylan Mulvaney doing the woman face almost.
You're doing this gay face. Yeah. Like you can't come out and say it in so many words, so you're going to be so animated and lispy that no one could be confused. Look how inclusive we are. Well, I'll be impressed when you just have the gay Garretts of the world in your project, and you don't need to tell me.
I've seen them try and drop it sometimes, and usually there's always like one outlet that gets stinky about it, but it's always like they'll have characters in the background, 2 women or something holding hands as they walk past. I'm like, that's fine. I never care about that. I've never had a problem with that. And you'll always get that one outlet like, they're putting gay stuff in all their programming. I'm like, okay, hold on.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
There is, I don't know what it is, but 20 years ago when you had just like a gay couple or lesbian couple or 2 dudes, it was just like, oh, wow, maybe you took notice, maybe you didn't. It was no big deal. Now it seems like there's a prominent way of having them come through the screen.
They have to be in your face.
Yeah, it seems a little like, I see what you did there, you fuckers. Yep. I don't care. I don't think it was necessary, but I see what you did.
They're gay. I'm mad that you threw it at me.
Yeah, it is that like, this is acceptable and you will accept it. Yep. It's like, yeah, I never had a problem with it. So I don't know who you're talking to. It's the forced nature, but I don't think Pixar. I don't think it's a coinkydink. I don't think it's a coincidence that Elemental flopped.
Yep.
Drew in $29.5 million. These are usually billion-dollar, hundreds of millions of dollar pictures. And then we've got Strange World, involved a same-sex teen romance, was also a box office flop for the company.
I don't even think I've ever heard of this one.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little... Maybe in trying to be so inclusive, that turned people off because teen romance stories are as old as the pictures themselves, right? And so it does make sense that you would have one that focuses on gay couples.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be, but there is something about it that feels forced because of everything else you're doing and the Zoom meetings we've watched videos of where you're bragging about this agenda and I'll do everything I can to cram as much gay stuff in it as I can.
Yeah, and that's where a huge problem comes in.
And that's where it's like...
Everything going forward, it's now going to get looked at with a different lens once that comes out.
Right. And, what do you know? You have 3 kids and they all happen to be trans. What are the odds of that? That seems like parent abuse to me. That's what that seems like. Like you have an agenda that's being forced on your children now. I don't believe there's a single household on planet Earth that would have 3 trans people in it.
No, there shouldn't.
That shouldn't happen.
I think you're supposed to, if I remember correctly, I'm just going off the top of my head, I think only 0.14% of the population is trans. So you're telling me 3 of those motherfuckers are in your house.
One household.
Yeah, 0.14.
That sounds like indoctrination. And when you can't wait to get in front of a Zoom camera in front of coworkers and fellow executives,
3 trans coming up soon.
Yeah, exactly. Or when you're pushing that and you're so you can't wait to brag to everybody that you have 3 trans kids. That shouldn't be something that a parent, like, first off, you should have mixed emotions. You should feel like, fuck, I love my kid and I want to, that's the way you should feel. But you should also at the same time be very afraid of what that existence means for your kid. Yeah. I imagine your family at some point was like, fuck, what is life going to be like for a gay kid? I just having kids, you want everything to be as normal and middle of the road as you can,
nice and safe,
as easy as possible. I don't want my kid being bullied. I don't want my kid being the butt of jokes. I don't want my kid to feel less about himself for any reason. And so a lot of people and parents are just going to want their kid. Don't make him have one arm shorter than the other. Don't make him fucking special needs. Don't make him gay. Don't make him. And then it happens and you have a gay child. I would imagine that parents
it's gonna add some problems to your life.
It's going to. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't love that kid with every ounce of your being. Of course you do.
Yeah.
But you do worry, my guess would be, about what does that mean? That's different than quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
So if you've got 3 trans kids and you can't wait to brag to your fucking executive coworkers at Disney about your 3 trans kids, I would think you would be going, fuck, what does this mean for the existence of these young people that I'm responsible for raising? This is going to be way more difficult. When do I put them on puberty blockers if this is real? Do I actually let my 2 daughters get their titties plugged out?
What happens when you
and
put
my
them on
kid's
puberty
dick
blockers
cut off
as children, and then they grow up to become adults who are now completely malformed and fucked up and want to
can never have children?
They can never come back.
These should be very, very, very lengthy and difficult conversations.
Yeah, it's not just
not
like gay kids.
And I'm not saying that your kids are broken or there's something wrong. This is a reality.
Yeah.
Some people were born hermaphrodite. They just were. And this is your new reality now. And so that exists, but the idea that you're like, oh my God, the greatest thing ever happened. My 3-year-old is trans. Like, you're a mental patient.
Oh, 100%.
If that's your attitude.
Lock the fucking parents up.
You're a mental patient.
That's child abuse at that point.
It's child abuse.
I think it's child abuse.
Yeah.
And I'm coming out as somebody who, dates a trans person, is gay.
Yes.
It's like, that's child abuse. If your kid's 3 years old and you're bragging about them becoming trans.
Yeah. That's
child
a you
abuse.
thing. That's a you thing. You're compensating
I want
for
to be
something.
a fucking dinosaur growing up, all right? That doesn't happen.
Right. Exactly.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's just what kids do. They say the dumbest shit, and they'll say whatever makes you happy. So if you start telling them, hey, being gay will make me happy, your kid's going to be gay.
Yeah. It's a scary thing, and I'm hoping that we're just in the early stages of this and that it kind of smooths itself out over time, because you're going to have to eventually deal with trans athletes in women's sports. Like, you're going to have to deal with that thing. Like, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
If it was just because we hate trans people, then you would hate trans girls being in male competitions.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like,
no one gives a shit.
You don't see very many women joining the men's sports.
No,
Usually it's the other way.
It's the cops hate black people narrative. It's like, well, it seems like for your argument to hold water, it would mean that they're also killing old black people when they pull them over. They're not.
No.
So it's not just, maybe there's some behavioral issues in here that is leading to this confrontation.
And there's one of those things, too, where it's like, depending on the cop, most of the time his interactions with a certain type of person are how he's going to base his next interaction with that certain type of person.
Of course.
And you can't say that because that's now racist. But it's like, it could have been white kids his whole life. Cop could have bad interactions with nothing but white kids.
Yeah, sure.
He's going to approach the next white kid with a problem.
Well, if you see it, it would be like, oh, well, there's not, it seems to be like, and it's not all for all of them, but it seems like a very narrow window. I don't know, 16 to 28-year-old black males.
Mostly black males who were told that the cops are your enemy.
Right.
Especially in modern day music that they love.
Anyone under that age, and it doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but by and large, you don't see young black kids or black women or old black men or women having the same issues that this group of black individuals are having with police. If it was strictly about someone's skin color, you would think that would apply to old black people as well. But it doesn't seem to be that way.
No, I don't see too many of that.
So, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but what's that?
I said, how old was Floyd?
Yeah. Well, he was like 40, but
yeah, but he was also on a bunch of fentanyl and fentanyl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and had nothing but run-ins.
Yeah.
You find better heroes.
He had a big old
I would say
history.
find better heroes and leaders. That's all I would say. But it's very hard to find the decent member of society getting tangled up with the cops.
Yeah. Well, that's the unfortunate part, too, is a lot of
You
guys
had
who,
one,
like,
Philando Castile.
Yeah.
Take it back. You had it in Philando Castile. Not that Castile. Oh. Philando Castile was your fucking martyr. He was the
and
guy.
They didn't martyr him.
No, they didn't martyr him like they did George fucking
killed.
Floyd. That guy was actually killed, and he did everything the right way, and seems like he was an upstanding member of society. He was the one with the permit
on him, right? Where he's like, hey, I have my gun on me. I have a permit for it.
100%.
I'm telling you about it. If you want to reach over and grab it, go ahead. And they started fucking shooting him.
Yeah, well, not quite, but sort of.
Yeah.
And he was shot and killed.
Yeah.
He wasn't even fucking driving. And it sounds like he was an upstanding member of society, worked in the school, but he didn't look the part. He had the dreads. He was a black guy. And, that cop had some idea about what a black male this age with a gun meant. And that person's opinion of this group of people got the better of him in that situation. Philando Castile is the guy you should be championing, not George Floyd.
Yeah.
Put a statue up of Philando Castile, not George Floyd. You'll get way more people on your side.
Yep.
Have you followed the Trump stuff at all going on in court?
Loosely.
A little bit.
I've been following it here and there as it pops up.
Kind of crazy, man. Trump said yesterday, getting thrown behind bars for violating the gag order in his New York hush money trial would be worth it because our Constitution is much more important than jail.
I can see him doing that shit.
I don't think he'd like jail at all.
He wouldn't like jail, but I feel like he'd get away with
it'd be good.
Yeah,
it'd be good for.
I
It'd be
definitely
fine
see him
for
antagonizing people and just yelling. I mean, we're talking like probably minimum security. Like he'd smooth some things over before
he
he's
would
thrown
be
in.
such a pimp. If you not only had a mug shot out there, I dare this judge to do it.
That's one of those things too. Yeah, you put Trump in jail, dude. He's probably got a lot of supporters in there.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes, he would. So Trump made the cop. Well, taking questions. He's been doing this every day while he's been stuck in Manhattan. Think about that for a second. Instead of on the campaign trail, he's been stuck in a Manhattan courtroom, and then he's left to go out on the sidewalk. And of course, the press is going to throw every question at him in the world. And Trump does really well at talking about that stuff. And they want to gag order him for this, and they've done that. He's been fined $10,000 now for multiple violations of Judge Juan Mercan's gag order, which prohibits Trump from talking about potential witnesses, jurors, court staff, attorneys, and the judge's family during the trial. After issuing his latest fine on Monday, Merchan told Trump he would consider a jail sentence if the former president violates the gag order again. Good luck, Merchan.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. That will not play like you think it will play.
Send Trump to jail. Make him more powerful.
Yes, go ahead. Do that at your own peril.
Martyr him.
Do that at your own peril, sir. You are a clown. Shouldn't be on this court case at all. And it doesn't take a rock star or a fucking brain surgeon to see exactly what is going on.
Trump will come out of jail with a face tattoo, just like free my N-words over here. Lil Smoke, his brother Big Smoke, they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm pardoning them as soon as I get in.
Merchan told Trump he would consider a sentence if the president violates the gag order. The last thing I want to consider is jail. You are the former president and possibly the next president. The magnitude of that decision is not lost on me. Your continued willful violation of the court's order constitutes a direct attack and will not be allowed to continue. Fuck you, sir. I am sorry. But when has a defendant ever had a gag order? You're allowed to defend yourself in this country. Are you fucking joking me right now? Not the defendant's lawyers. He's the defendant in this absurd, clearly politically motivated. Just be honest with yourselves. I know people think I'm a super Trump fan. I'm not as big a Trump fan as you think.
I'm not even a Trump fan at all.
This is outrageous on its face. It just is.
I was planning on sitting out this election, but if they throw Trump in jail for a gag order, I'm voting for him.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Dude, I think a lot of people will feel that way.
You'll change my mind. I'll show up at the polls.
Yeah. I have to watch every word I tell you people. You ask me a question, a simple question. I'd like to give you an answer, but I can't talk about it because this judge is giving me a gag order and said you go to jail if you violate it. Frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day. So he was fined $9,000. So this clown has threatened to fine him $1,000 per instance. And what Trump keeps doing is going on Truth Social and going, this isn't a joke. They want me stuck in Manhattan, not on the trail while, clownish Joe Biden is running around hiding in a basement, whatever.
He's doing podcasts now.
He's making comments like that on Truth Social. So he keeps fining him $1,000 because he's not allowed to talk about it. Just
Trump will give you that
mind-blowing
just to talk about it.
Fine. Write him a check every week
like
for $10,000. write him a check every week for 10 grand, and then go, I dare you to throw me in jail.
Yeah.
I fucking dare you to take a former president of the United States and throw him in jail for ignoring your retarded gag order.
Yeah.
None of it makes sense. None of it's ever made sense. And most rational people see through this.
Especially
they see
when
exactly
most of his
what this
supporters
is.
love him for the First Amendment. It's like, oh, do not hit this guy on a First Amendment charge.
If you don't see what these charges are on their face, it means you don't want to see what they are on their face.
Yeah.
Period. End of discussion. I'm not saying you have to be a fan of Trump, but you have to be able to recognize injustice when you see it. And that's what this is. This is a joke of a case. And the more and more details come out about Judge Juan Merchan and his fucking daughter and his ties to the Democrat Party and the hundred millions of dollars she's raised for that party. That's why he doesn't want Trump talking about the judge and the judge's family. That's why he's making that directive.
Because stuff comes out.
Connecting the dots between the Democrat fucking party and the super PACs of the Democrat Party and this judge and his daughter are so easy to do that it makes impossible to have it so he could destroy you. Trump could destroy this judge and his daughter for exactly who they are.
Yeah.
That's why the judge is putting these gag orders in place. What a normal judge would do in this country is recuse themselves. If there's even the hint, a judge has to be above reproach. I'm sorry, they just do.
Justice is blind.
If it looks at all to outside people like you have stake in a case against a defendant, and I don't care what that defendant is on trial for, whether it's mass murder or something as stupid as about a misfiling and a hush money payment. Who gives a shit? If the judge has to be, you're the arbiter. You're the guy that makes the decision. We put a lot of faith and trust in you. You cannot give the appearance on any level. And even if it's fraudulent, but people are saying, here's why we have a problem with this, that judge just steps aside. Yeah. Fine. There are plenty of judges who cannot be accused of this sort of fucking involvement or this sort of like what makes it look like, this judge's daughter is trying to make money and raise money on Trump's trial. That alone is enough for Merchan to go, I got to be out of this one. I can't be a part of this. It will look exactly how it looks. That's how it will look. And if you go the extra step and put this guy in jail, you put Donald Trump behind bars over something as dumb as this shit, that will not play well for you. It just won't. It will not. I almost hope they do it at this point.
I was going to say, it's the same thing as like when we were talking about Kim Kardashian, talking to Trump. It's this, the Democrats missed it again, where it's like they could have just talked to the motherfucker and got whatever they wanted, but they had to fight him and call him a Nazi, make him hate him. So now this judge, it's like, dude, if you just kind of backed off, recused yourself, stopped attacking the motherfucker, now he's got ammo on you, and he's going to use it. If you throw him in jail, he's using all his ammo.
Yeah, he is. And I don't blame him. And he should have that right as a defendant to defend himself. He should absolutely have the right to say what he wants. Now, if Trump goes to a podium or to a microphone after a day in court and says, juror number 3, her name's Carol Johnson. Yeah. She lives at this address, and if people went after her, I wouldn't have... Like, if he did that... Yeah. Fine, throw him in jail, and the whole country would go, "Yeah, that's outrageous." I agree with that. You can't dox these people, but you can't have a problem with the things Trump has said. It's incredible, and if there's even a hint of conflict of interest, you just have to be the bigger person. You can hate Trump all you want, but you can't have a history of your daughter putting out memes of Trump behind bars. Do you understand that? Do you understand?
You can't call your shot in trial.
When your daughter has connections to Adam Schiff, the guy that went after Trump without mercy for 5-7 years now, when you've got connections with him and money raising back and forth with each other and the Democrat super PACs, that is a problem. You can't have her posting memes about Trump in fucking prison and then have her dad sitting on the case and expect that nobody's going to go, that seems a little odd. That is a conflict of interest by definition. And how nobody has called this out. And they don't care that this will get thrown out down the road, that this will be bounced down the road. The point is to tie him up now. They're talking about 3 more weeks dragging this out.
Good luck.
Which would be 7 fucking weeks. You want him off the campaign trail for 7 weeks.
Yep.
That's what you want. That's what the point of all of these things are. This is long past the statute of limitations. It's not even a case that should be brought in the first place.
Yep.
That's just the reality. It makes it, unfortunately, crystal clear about what your motives are. When you refuse, you fight to stay on a court case. If they've got a problem and they've brought together reasonable evidence to show why it's a problem that this judge would be on this case, you, by all means, you step aside. That's just the way it goes. It is. And so when you see them refusing to do that, it makes you wonder, well, what could be the motive for this guy to demand to stay on this case? What could possibly be the motive?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be a genius to think ahead as to what that motive might be.
Maybe the Democrats want to hold up their opponent right now so he can't do his thing and campaign for his Republican nominee.
Yeah. Howard Stern has been taking some shit as well lately. For
deserved.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Howard, you could say whatever you want, but you deserve all the shit you're getting for the interview you did with Joe Biden. You just do.
Howard can fight me. It's good prep for the show, or good advertisement.
Fuck Howard Stern.
Fuck Howard
I've been
Stern.
saying it for a long time. He's not as great as everybody gives him credit for. I give him credit for what he deserves, which is
back in the day you were funny and
kicking
now you're
those
not.
doors down and pushing your way through no matter what they throw you. I give him a ton of credit for that.
Yeah.
He's closing in a 70-year-old man now. And
He's old, he's comfortable, and he's going to live like that.
Yeah,
the rest
and he's
of
a
his life.
billionaire.
Yeah.
There's just something about
He's
it that
got
changes
no reason
you.
to change anymore.
He's as mainstream gets now. So this idea, radio shock jock. Howard Stern has not been a shocking jock for 25 years. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Everybody still wants to pretend he's shock jock Howard Stern. He is not.
No.
He is as fucking...
He interviews musicians about what their traumas were growing up.
Yeah, yeah. And he interviews presidents about what their traumas were like.
When he interviewed, I think it was, I don't even like Gene Simmons, right? I don't even like Gene Simmons. And he was saying something about his childhood. Like, well, you had a rough childhood doing this. He's like, dude, I'm a multimillionaire.
Yeah,
You know, I'm in
I'm a
KISS.
rock
Like,
star.
I'm fine. I'm doing fine with all my trauma. Do you see a therapist? No, I have money and bitches.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I have a panty room. I have a panty room, Gene. Gene does.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons is a fucking asshole.
Oh,
That's
total
all
asshole.
there's to it.
It's
But,
just one of those things where it's like, the
but
fuck
this
are you talking about,
idea
Howard?
that he's a shock jock. Howard was a shock jock when he would get an A-list celebrity in studio and ask her to her face if she enjoyed anal.
Yeah.
That was shocking to people. It is no longer shocking to suck the dicks of current presidents.
Yeah.
That is not shocking in any way. And that's what you did, Howard. So Howard is lashing out at critics who suggested the White House had fed him questions ahead of his sit-down with Biden.
They did.
Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Maybe you're such a slappy now, Howard, that they don't even need to feed you questions.
Maybe
They're
you
very
wrote them
confident
and then got them approved.
that you're only going to ask slap dick fucking ball washing questions anyways, so they don't need to feed them to you. It's very possible they knew you are such a pussy nowadays that you would never dare ask Joe Biden a fucking tough question to his face about anything. You would have 30 years ago, which is why Joe Biden would have never gone on your show 30 years ago. But nowadays, so the fact that critics are suggesting that should scare you, Howard. The fact that people are saying, because the implication is this interview was such a pathetic joke, the White House themselves must have given you these questions.
Yeah.
You take issue with that criticism. The fact that criticism exists should tell you everything you need to know.
It's either you got the questions fed to you or you're the worst interviewer of all time.
Ever. Yeah.
Which one, Howard?
Stern called out YouTuber David Pakman, who said that Stern's interview had been a good one, but wondered whether the White House had prompted him to ask specific policy questions and denied that Biden's staff had any influence over what he'd chosen to discuss. Pakman had suggested Biden's team was behind him asking about a new policy regarding airline cancellations, namely that the airlines would have to immediately refund tickets prices for canceled flights. Stern said that question had actually been prompted by a conversation he had with someone on staff.
Okay.
Fine, maybe.
It's such an innocuous question. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
You couldn't get more innocuous
Yeah,
and
that's just
vanilla,
like-
and who cares?
You could say the same question to a senator. Like, hey, senator, what do you think about people refunding their plane tickets when the flight's canceled?
Yeah, and it seems like they were abusing that right to not have to do that anyways, and you cleared that up.
get a
Great,
voucher.
good for you. I will give Joe Biden for credit for that. If Joe Biden pushed that through and signed something that says, hey, you can't treat people like this and push them around and make them reschedule shit and then hold up their money if they want a refund. Good for you, Joe Biden.
Good job, Biden.
That doesn't clear you of all the dog shit you've done. So if Howard asked him that, if Howard asked him that question, and good, fine, then that's fine. If he says when Joe Biden came in, the day before John Hine, one of his producers, and I were talking about some of the accomplishments that we admire that have gone on in the past 4 years, and John says, hey, Howard, did you hear what Joe Biden did with the airlines? Boy, that's a conversation I've never had with anybody ever. Holy shit, there aren't bigger things.
What are you talking about? Every day before the show, it's like, hey, Mike, did you see this awesome story about Joe Biden?
And I wouldn't have said that with Trump either. Yeah. Hey, did you see what Donald Trump did against...
That goofball Trump today.
Yeah. Boy, did you see what Joe Biden did, for the credit card companies versus the American people? Like, no. Most people aren't having those conversations. So, cut the conspiracies, Stern said. You got to be fucking kidding me. First of all, we controlled all the audio. Stern went on to say when he requested the interview, he had not wanted it to turn into a long back and forth on political issues and policies. My whole goal was to not sit there and talk politics.
That's bullshit.
I'm not bullshit.
You're talking to the fucking president. You
the
talk
current
politics.
one.
The current sitting president. You talk politics.
I'm not into that. I don't want to debate policy. My only agenda was I would like to get to know the president because I suspect he's a very meaningful, very thoughtful guy. Okay, Howard.
I don't give a fuck. He's running the country. I want to know what he's doing.
Yeah. First off, if you thought Joe Biden historically was a very thoughtful and meaningful guy, you're a sucker. You're a sucker. He's a swamp rat, pure and simple. Has been. He's been a racist. He's been a liar his whole life.
And getting arrested with black people, and then banning them from saying he doesn't want his kids in the same school as black people because he's progressive.
So, if that's the thing he wanted, I didn't want to go over what his agenda was. Yeah, fine. And if that's what you decided to do, Howard, it made for a total zero of an interview. Pointless discussion with zero pushback on anything. The problem is when you ask legitimate policy questions or the benefit to it is, then when he bold-faced lies to your face about it, you can give some pushback.
Yeah.
Something that no other interviewer. Who gives a fuck about Biden's younger years? Who cares where he went to school or if he fucking had this girlfriend, or we all know about his tragedies.
Yeah.
Those are sad on their face. We all know that his wife died. We all know his son Bo died. You don't need to make this a sad sob story thing.
Yeah.
But you had something, Howard, that was such a rare opportunity because the fact is you are Howard Stern, and nobody, including the press office at the White House, can tell you what to ask. I believe that. So at no point do I believe Howard Stern was given a list of questions. These are acceptable.
He's just
Howard would not have agreed to that. I do believe that. But the reason they decided to go on your show is they knew it was as friendly fire as MSNBC.
Yeah.
And that on its face should be an absolute insult to you. You failed miserably. What you did, Howard, was fanboy. You fanboyed this guy's accomplishments. You called him the father of the country, and we need him now as the father of the country.
He's the father.
Like, who are you, Howard? Who are you? And why wouldn't you ask him like, hey, I believe you're the greatest thing ever. I think you're the father of the country, but boy, it seems weird that you would have 10 million, 15 million, God knows how many millions of people crashing our borders. Can you explain yourself?
Yeah.
Besides blaming Trump, this seems absurd on its face. Like, why? You're not vetting them. You've not tested them for COVID. You know I stood in a basement for fucking 3 years, Howard, or Joe, because I was afraid to go out in public with the masses and those dirty, filthy COVID people. Yet you've let all these fucking 10, 15 million people into our country. You haven't even tested them. You don't know their criminal backgrounds. You're not even trying to do background checks.
No.
That seems like it's done on purpose. What say you, sir? You didn't ask that. It's what 70% of the country is worried about right now, Howard. No one gives a shit.
The number one polling issue right now in an election year.
In an election year. They care about immigration policy stuff. They care about crime.
Yep.
They care about
the economy going down the fucking shitter right now.
Yes, the economy. They care about inflation. These are things that are polled and show the same results every fucking time. And your golden boy, Joe Biden, is front and center on all this. He's the guy entrusted to make decisions for the best of the country. And you had him there in a rare spot where you could literally ask him anything you want, and you fucking dropped the ball. And all you did was blow the guy.
Yeah.
You blew the guy for an hour and a half, Howard, and shame on you for it. You could have asked questions that MSNBC would never dare ask, or CNN would never dare ask, wouldn't have the fucking balls to ask. And we were under the false belief, Howard, that you actually had the balls to ask those questions. But you've shown yourself to be no better than Keith Olbermann, Jimmy Kimmel, or any of the other clowns with Trump derangement syndrome right now, who can't ask this guy a straightforward fucking question to save your lives. He doesn't do many interviews. He won't sit down with friendly news outlets, period. And you get him for an hour and a half, and you want to talk about what a great guy he is? Really? He lied to you, and it's been proven that he lied to you multiple times in that interview, Howard. Have you said anything about it? Have you said, sir, there's no absolutely zero record of you being arrested for being on the porch of a black family during the civil rights movement? That never happened, sir. It's been reported multiple times that fact checkers have done deep dives, and they know for a fact you never drove a fucking 18-wheeler, sir. Why are you lying to me about this right now? Why are these stories that have really, they're not a benefit either way? I mean, who cares? Who cares if Joe Biden drove an 18-wheeler or not? I don't. But if he's going to lie to you about that, wouldn't you ask the natural question of like, sir, that's been disputed many times. They say that you did not drive an 18-wheeler. But you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even ask him that dumb shit.
Yep.
I just don't get it. I don't.
It's all right.
Get
it gets worse because Biden's doing a little bit more rounds of like podcasts and things like that. And I think I'm gonna make a lot of people disappointed because he just went on a podcast called Smart List or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Another and they just sucked his dick the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
But it sucks too because it's Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. I love Jason Bateman, Will Arnett.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And Sean Hayes is a talented motherfucker too. I had no idea how talented that guy is, but
they just fucking sucked his dick again.
And now they're bragging about Jen Psaki. Is bragging about it like crazy, like, oh, we need to do more stuff like Smartless and Howard Stern.
Yeah, you just need to get a bunch of celebrities to suck your dick.
That used to mean something. If you had the fucking nerve, if you had the balls to go on Howard Stern, that meant something. Howard has in 4 years destroyed that. He has destroyed that. And anybody that's paying attention absolutely knows. It doesn't mean Howard can't get John Bon Jovi on for 3 hours and have a great interview with him. Of course he can.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something that mattered and matters in real time involving people in the moment, you failed, sir. And you failed all of us. Because I won't get the chance to ask Joe Biden real questions. I won't. And anybody that could won't. They wouldn't dare bring him on Joe Rogan. They wouldn't fucking dare, Howard. That should tell you something. They wouldn't dare.
Meanwhile, Trump's over here begging to get on.
They wouldn't fucking dare put Joe Biden on with Joe Rogan. That should be shameful to you, Howard. Because what that means is they know he'll ask legitimate questions, and they can't. Favorite guest until 4 years ago.
Yeah. I was going to say, because Joe Rogan, Trump has been trying to get on Joe Rogan for the longest time, and Joe's just like, I don't want any,
I think he'll have him on.
He should. I think at this point, yes.
I think because people asked him about Tucker Carlson. That was a great interview.
It was.
That Tucker Carlson interview with Joe Rogan is great.
So I think it's game on now. You got one president who wouldn't dare and one who's like, let me in.
I think Joe Rogan has held that attitude for a long time. Like, I don't want to put my hand on the scales. I don't want to fucking. He was saying before, I don't want to make Donald Trump look good.
That's what I was about to say.
Donald Trump would make Donald Trump look good. That's the fear, that I'm going to platform someone to instantly hit 12, 13 million people, and he's going to be more even humanized. And so Joe was afraid of that. My guess is before we get to the full election cycle stuff, you're going to see Donald Trump on Joe Rogan. And here's what you will not see. Not see.
Yeah.
Here's what you will not see is Joe Biden on with Joe Rogan.
No.
Because Joe Biden cannot.
Joe Rogan's the number one.
Cannot sit down for 3+ hours with anybody And he sure as fuck couldn't sit there with Joe Rogan, knowing damn well Joe Rogan's not going to give him nerf toss after nerf toss. That couldn't happen.
No, I've always said Joe Rogan is the poster boy of I have fuck you money, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, and so does Howard.
Show. Yeah.
So does Howard. And you know what the fact is, Joe Rogan had fuck you money coming off of long before the $200 million Spotify deal.
Oh, yeah.
He had fuck off money during Fear Factor.
I feel like Howard's just so in his little celebrity space with all his fun little celebrity friends coming all the time that he doesn't want to lose that. Whereas Joe Rogan doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I don't care.
Joe
if
Rogan's
wants to come
never
on my show
given a shit about that. Never. He avoids those people like the plague.
Friends. He has his friends.
Yeah, it's sad because it's like, for all the lashing out and craziness of Howard Stern 30 years ago, it seems like all Howard really wanted was acceptance by that community.
Yeah.
And now that they give it to him, he wouldn't dare.
No, he doesn't want to chest it.
He wouldn't dare say it.
He's going to stay safe.
No, he wouldn't dare say something offensive, or he wouldn't dare ask Jennifer Aniston personal shit anymore. So it's sad. Jimmy Kimmel used to be good, and I don't know what the fuck he's doing now, but that whole group of Howard Stern and Kimmel and Aniston, all of them are in a circle jerk, filling each other's heads with, and it's just the ego to think you're better than everybody else and everybody else's opinion.
Yep.
It should scare Howard Stern to know for a fact that they wouldn't dare put Joe Biden on with Joe Rogan. Wouldn't dare, because that's where your numbers are comparable, and they chose your soft ass to bring Joe Biden to because they knew you would sell out like you did.
Hey,
and it's a disappointment to all of us.
Than the Fear Factor guy.
Yeah, the Fear Factor guy, they know better. They know better. All right, let's do some email and
okie dokie.
Call it a day. Oh, my God. Excuses. Cult leader.
Uh-oh.
Please stop giving all the reasons and excuses of why there are only 1 or 2 shows per week. You're not helping your cause. Holy shit, you have a doctor's appointment and your whole day is ruined. Really? Try booking a doctor's appointment while working full-time, taking care of a family and household chores. It's called life. I know you say you're a lazy piece of shit, but goddamn. Also, I realize Gay Easus is new to the show, but for fuck's sakes, tell him to stop interrupting you, Chris.
It's kind of hard. I always have a point to say. That's fair.
Yeah, I get it, and it's hard. It's hard to come into this room and know your place. And
I don't really have a history in radio, so it's kind of like
it takes time.
Especially when Drew and Greg were here, I was like, I don't even know if I can talk.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned in there. If you notice, I took a back seat to most of that.
I kind of had to back up a little bit and just like, if I saw a point and I noticed I had something to add.
You're better off not saying a fucking word.
I just
period.
Had to
when guys like that are in, I barely said anything.
Oh, yeah.
I just let them.
I think I remember telling Marina
lay
on the way
table
home, I was like, that was rough. Like, I'm sweating after that. I wasn't even doing anything.
No, and you're better off not. You can make yourself hated real quick.
Yeah.
If you interject and try to add your 2 cents, it's like, they're specifically here to hear these people. Fucking let them go.
And that's why I try, when it's just you and me here, I try and jump in a little bit here and there. And I do interrupt a little bit. I'm working on it. But
yeah, dude, believe me. I'll tell you to shut up.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And I will shut up.
Yeah, you do. You're better than Easus. Okay. Couple things. Chris.
Uh-oh.
The reason I'm giving excuses like I am, reasons and excuses, is I'm torn between what I'd like to do is not say a fucking word.
Yeah.
You'll hear from me when I'm good and ready. And I get so much shit when I do that, and I don't update people on what's going on or explain. I'm trying, and probably not doing a very good job of it, of being transparent. Now, no, a doctor's appointment does not ruin my fucking day. And I understand. You think I didn't have doctor's appointments scheduled while I worked full-time most of my life? No, I'm on a set schedule right now, and I've got a departure date. And so my insurance will not be usable in Arizona. So for until the new year, okay? I don't have PPO, I have HMO. So it's not transferable. That means I can get medications, but all my appointments need to be in and done, and work needs to be done now. And what I found is what I used to do was schedule a lot of this shit for Fridays.
Yeah.
And this is the last time I'm going to explain this, Chris, because I know it bothers you, and I'm sorry about that. But what I found is none of these fucking doctors work on Friday anymore. None of them. And I can't bitch them because I don't really work on Friday either.
Yeah.
So that's kind of thrown a loop into it. The other thing I'm dealing with, and it is what it is, when I had Jay here and Easus here, This is all we did. This was our full-time job. So if I said, Jay, I got a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock. I need you guys here at noon. We've got an interview till 1, and then we got to do a show from 1 to 2:30, and then I got a fucking doctor's appointment. And those guys would come over first thing in the morning because this was what they were paid to do. I was paid, Isis was paid, Jay was paid. That is not the reality today. Garrett works full-time. Same with Troy when Troy was here. And the other thing that I'm not going to do to Garrett, no matter what he says, I am not going to go, Garrett, can you do me a favor? Because a lot of people will do me that favor.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ask these people that are already doing me a huge favor and doing you a huge favor if you're a fan of the show, because I cannot do this alone, is to go, hey, I know you've got a window of 2 hours max from 4:30 to 6:30 that we can do this. That is the window you've given me. And then you've got an existence before that for work. And then you've got a fucking home life and dinner plans with your significant other. I am not going to interrupt that so I can do a fucking show every single day. I'm not going to do it. So if I was paying Garrett money right now, that would be a different story. If this was
a job, it'd be different.
If this was a full-time job, if this was even a part-time job, it is not right now. So it's not lost on me what it is. So when they say that the sleep thing I had to do yesterday didn't even start till 3, I didn't even get to see the doctor till 4:30, and I didn't get home till 6:30. So when I know Garrett has to be home at 7 to have dinner like he does with Marina every night, I respect that. So yes, I can't just say, hey, Garrett, come over at noon. We'll do an early show today so I can go to this appointment that has to be done before I leave here in 4 weeks. And this is the only time they can get me in is on this day at this time. Take it or fucking leave it. So that's what I'm dealing with. And then some of the other things I'm doing that I'm running into that I fucking hate even talking about. But I went and bought Backsplash. I found a Backsplash that I wanted. I fucking had to go shop for it. I had to go pick it out. I had to run through thousands of examples and find the right one and order it. And then I get a call weeks later right before it's supposed to go in. And they say, oh, by the way, that doesn't exist anymore. It's not available and we can't get it. We're very sorry. So now I'm fucking starting over. Now I need to go during the day because this shit has to be wrapped up in a couple weeks. And I'm not trying to be a dick, dude, but I'm very sensitive to this because I know how important it is to keep your audience engaged. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But I've got some shit that has to be taken care of. And so, Chris, I apologize. I'm trying to find a balance between giving you guys reason. And yes, he goes on, I know you say you're a lazy piece of shit, but yeah, I am a lazy piece of shit. But it doesn't mean I'm always dropping the ball on everything that I have a responsibility to do. That's not what that means. And yes, I will forever be a lazy piece of shit. I always have been. But that's not the point. And I'm not mad at you, Chris. I know your name. I know you've been a longtime listener and supporter of this show. And the fact that you called me cult leader means something to me. So, but that's the reality. So maybe I'm better off not telling you guys what I'm doing and what's going on.
No, there's a middle ground.
I'm sure there is, but it's
like one of those things too, where every time you look at a post on the Facebook page, everyone's like, "Where's Raj?" Should we see that comment every single post? It's, "Where's Raj?"
Yeah.
I'm like, look, it's not that we're not talking about that he's gone forever.
oh my God,
he's coming,
and it's why I got talked in against my better judgment. I got talked into mentioning Raj and mentioning the plans going forward. And my argument was, you never fucking know when shit isn't going to work out. So I don't like saying shit. Things don't tend to work out in my favor. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they don't. And so I've learned to shut the fuck up. I don't tell you guys about upcoming interviews very often. If I've got something scheduled, I don't usually tell you, hey, Drew's coming by. It just happens because I know shit can go south quick and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. For all my good intentions, it's happened to me too many times in the past where shit falls through. Shit can fall through with Raj. Raj and I are still in communication. He knows what's going on and I know what's going on. But I didn't even want to bring up Raj because it turns into, where's Raj? And I know you're being smart asses and I get it, but I don't fucking need it. I don't. And so I try to keep that shit a lid on it until I know the flight's booked. The flight's booked. It's happening. I'm picking them up tomorrow, and then we're off and running with some stuff. Until then, I don't want to talk about it. And wouldn't you know it, The guy gets in a fucking car accident, and not that the car accident, because I've seen some smart asses too go, oh, it must have been serious. The implication being, for 6 months he hasn't. No,
it's a car accident
fucked
plus
up.
The house plus what
No. It fucked up the 2-month window span that I was planning to bring him here. That's what it fucked up. And it led just long enough into, well, now I'm staring down the bullet of 2 months and I'm out of here. So I'm not even going to bother. I don't even have spare rooms in this house now. The plan was to have Raj move in here for a couple months. I don't even have a place to put him now. So I'm not going to bother bringing him to town just to leave. So that's why Raj isn't involved today. And so believe me, there's a method to some of the madness. Just hang in there. And I'm not mad at you, Chris, for sending that email. I'm really not. Yeah. It's been really tough for me too. And so Connor wrote in is like,
Eric, do you need a hug?
Sorry, Mike. Damn, buddy. I meant that as a light joke. I sincerely didn't mean to get you worked up. All my love, man. I appreciate everything you guys do. That goes for you too, Garrett. With love, Connor.
Oh.
Honestly, I was trying to think, what did Bone Job say? Because I adore Connor.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Connor at all. He was being a smart ass about working 1 day a week and, oh my God, blah, 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 and watching these other guys work in your home. And I got kind of defensive about it. I remember the email now. Don't worry, Connor. I know exactly who you are, and I know exactly how you go about your ball busting.
We'll put it like this. We're not mad at the fans. We're mad at the situation.
I am very frustrated by the situation.
We're actually very thankful for the fans.
You know what I think I'm most frustrated with? Honestly, personally, what I'm most frustrated about is I know it's months from being resolved.
Yeah.
Like, that's what is...
It can't just be snapped and fixed.
When you think about life-altering, struggling things, it's marriage, it's buying a house, it's moving, and I'm doing like all of that minus the marriage right now. I'm renovating a house, selling a house, moving cross country, and buying another house, and moving into that, and then setting up an existence.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And not just any existence.
It's
like
terrifying.
A show that people listen to.
It's terrifying.
Usually you do this shit on your own.
I spend most of my days, half the day thinking this is going to be the greatest thing for me in my life, and the other half of my day going, this is probably the biggest fucking dumbest decision I've ever made in my life.
No, I think it'll be tough for a minute. We'll get it together, and then it'll be fucking awesome.
I mean about life in general. You're talking about...
I'm trying to be positive.
No, I appreciate that.
I'm always positive, though.
I know you are. But for me... all my contacts are in Metro Detroit.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean I don't have listeners in Arizona and contacts in Arizona. I do. And I have some in LA and I have some in Florida, like sporadically.
Yeah.
But by and large, the majority of my existence, and has been for 30 years, is right here in Metro Detroit. So by skedaddling from here... I can't call Dave Landau anymore and just say, come over today. Let's do a show. I can't just call Vinny Dombrowski and say, bring your guitar and come on over.
Send them to my house.
Drew, come on over. I can't do that from Arizona. So that part is really scary. The connections I had, Travis, I'm having an issue. Ron, I'm having an issue. It's all scary as hell to me. It's very, very scary. And part of me is going, well, you're just jumping in with both feet and hope for the best.
Yep.
And that's what I'm banking on. So
I think it'll work out. Worst case, just start sending the celebrities to my house. I'll host them.
All right, we'll figure something out. I'm not sending a bunch of celebrities to your house. Stop.
I want to hang out with Landau and Vinny.
Yeah, well, we'll bring them over here before I leave.
Right.
Don't worry, you'll get to meet them.
Sounds like a sweet party.
Yeah, they're fun, but they don't drink.
That's fine.
Vinny
I don't
does,
drink either.
All right, I got this email.
I got that smoke. We're good.
Dave doesn't smoke. Don't smoke with him either.
Fine.
Elections is the subject, and this is from Terry, Terri. So I'm assuming that's a hot chick, not a guy. If it was Terry, I would say dude, but Terri, I think that's a hot chick.
Yeah, I think so. Terry's usually RI is female.
Listening to Poem 1866. Well, here's where you're first wrong, Terry. 1866, I remember very well. That was not a poem. That was a sonnet.
Okay.
So
I thought it was a psalm.
No, it was not a psalm.
Okay.
That was 1867.
Oh.
1866.
My bad.
No, was not a poem, but close. I see where you're going. I live in Oregon, and we have mail-in voting. God, Oregon's beautiful.
Oregon.
I wouldn't want to be there,
Oregon.
but and we have mail-in voting. I hate it. Personally, I think that voting is a privilege, and we should take that seriously. We should be glad and proud to be able to stand in line to cast a ballot. Sure, we can make absentee ballots a thing for the old, but I have to tell you about a conversation I had with a liberal idiot in 2020. He says that we should be able to vote with our smartphones. I'll pause here for a second, Terry. I agree with you when you say that, because I never thought this when I was younger.
Yeah.
Personally, I think voting is a privilege we should take seriously. We should be glad and proud to be able to stand in line to cast a ballot.
Yeah.
Selfishly, and young people are just that, for the most part, selfish. We don't know any better. And I was like, me. What's easiest and simplest for me? And that would be on a smartphone. That would be mail-in ballot. Absolutely. I feel an absolute privilege that it's a privilege we should take seriously now as I get older. That if that means I have to go to my little fucking Franklin area and stand in line and show my card and my voting registration, and they have to find me on the log, and then I fill it out and go in the little box. I like leaving the house less than any of you listening right now.
I hate it.
I feel a civic duty to do that for the protection of this country. I think it's a very slippery slope. No offense.
And
to
well,
our
that's what I was
Asian
saying too with my thing where I said, like, I don't feel like voting this year. It's not that I don't take voting seriously. It's my thing is it's an active protest against the options given.
I understand that.
And I can see where people will be mad about that. That's fine.
No. I get it. I know a lot of people that have that opinion.
But I just know you can't vote for a third party in this era. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I feel a duty to vote, and I think it's way more important.
There's more options on the list and everything.
I think it's way more important than young people can recognize right now about the potential dangers. And it's not without precedent. Other countries have tried it. France tried it famously. France tried to do that, and they cut that shit immediately because they figured out mail-in voting is way too easy to fuck up and rig. And so you maybe it works this time around, and your guy, you liberal idiot, gets in because mail-in voting. Well, eventually the other side's going to figure out the best way to utilize that too, and maybe they're going to figure out a way to rig the system so that it works best for them, and you're not going to like that very much. So before it gets to that place, how about you cut that shit out? And if you want to make it a federal holiday, I'd be fine with that. I think most workplaces already do that, where it's like, hey, I got to vote. And they'll let you go on your lunch break and stay for an hour and a half.
Give up any kind of mail-in or whatever electronic voting. Let's give all that up and make it a federal holiday. I'm all for that.
So this liberal idiot says to her, we should all be able to vote with our smartphones. Excuse me, what? His reasoning was that the Federal Reserve hasn't been hacked, so voting would be able to be secured too.
No.
I also pointed out that not everyone has a smartphone or is comfortable with using a phone to vote, like seniors, to which his reply was, fuck them, they're going to die soon anyways. That doesn't surprise me as a response from a liberal. That should be the farthest thing from a true liberal's mind is fuck them, they're going to die soon anyways. But I know too many fucking people that call themselves progressive liberals that have said very similar things to me.
They'll give you a death threat just for not voting the same way. It doesn't matter if you're old or not.
Right. But that a statement like that is something I have heard from liberal friends that is like, boy, oh boy, man, that is way against the tenets of what I thought of liberalism as and progressiveness as.
I always thought it was the Republicans who are pro-death penalty.
Yeah. So fuck them. They're going to die soon anyways. And for the poor people that might not have a smartphone, they can go to a library or something to vote. This progressive liberal's answer is basically screw the old and the poor. Let me vote via my phone. I just can't with these people. Anywho, love you guys, Terry. Well, Terry, we love you too. I think you are spot on with this take. And unfortunately, I know people who have the very same attitude. I don't want to... Sometimes it's just people haven't thought hard enough about some of these issues.
Yeah.
Because I gave the warden quite a bit of shit. But I remember during COVID, and the warden was like, she hates people on the right and Republicans so much and so vehemently that she kind of had an attitude like, COVID is their fault at this point. If they would just mask and stay home, we could all get through this.
It's any issue.
And to me, and I don't want to shit on her because she is well-meaning and a good person.
Though. It's not just her who was doing that.
But to me, it was like, okay, for a second, and I don't even think I said it to her, but all I could think was, Okay, you realize you live in a pretty good sized home.
Yeah.
And you have groceries delivered right to your doorstep multiple times a day. And
Yeah.
you don't live on top of your neighbors. You've got quite a bit of distance on kind of a farm situation where can you think for a second about what this might be like in New York City or in poor communities where you're living in apartment complexes that are 500 square feet and you've got 2 kids and you know, they're not giving you rent relief in a lot of these situations. They're sure as shit not giving you fucking groceries relief. And you need to find a way to make those ends meet anyways and take care of your kids. And you've got them saddled in 500 square feet. And like that, you're going to drive people insane with that.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be able to see outside of your personal circumstances.
Well,
it's very easy for you to say with 3 cars in the driveway.
That's what I was
and a
just gonna say.
fucking
It's like a lot of these
big
people
lot,
don't realize like a majority of America is paycheck to paycheck.
100%.
A majority of America. It's like the vast majority of the USA is paycheck to paycheck. If you cut their job or lay them off because of COVID, they're fucked. Their family's fucked. Their house is fucked.
And I don't think it's, you know, I don't mean to throw arrows at the warden. I'm
just
going to
her.
be living with the warden.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people that had that attitude of like, anybody who disagrees with me politically is responsible for COVID. And if they would just mask up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I'm trying to show you.
What about me, who I had to work through all of COVID because I couldn't support myself if I didn't have a job. And I wasn't getting the Biden bucks or the Trump bucks or whatever. I had to work through it all. I was essential.
It was never lost on me for 1 second that I had gone cross country and stayed for a year and a half. And I was in such a privileged and blessed situation that I didn't really have to work.
No.
It was like I was fine. I was staying with family. They didn't want me to leave. My health was on the fritz anyways. It worked well for me.
I was working
but it was not
face to face with people.
I was very aware of that. And I was also very, very, very aware that there were millions and millions and millions of Americans who couldn't just shut down their small business. That small fucking bar that they owned or store that they owned was their family's livelihood. Everything depended on it. And I wasn't cool with the government just shutting it down because of masking or vax status. I mean, are you crazy? Are you insane? I worried about them. Maybe that makes me the good person. I don't know.
You know, and I always hate when people are talking about COVID and shit. Like, I was so, you know, you don't know what it was like. Dude, I had a collapsed lung pre-COVID, so that's my pre-existing condition.
Yep.
Collapsed lung and a respiratory virus is going across the U.S. that we're all very unsure about and don't know about. And I'm being told it's just killing everybody left and right, and you get thrown on ventilators.
Yeah.
My dumbass has to mask up and get to fucking work and go face to face with every single person who goes to a grocery store in a day.
Yeah, and the reality was that mask was probably worse for you than anything.
Worse.
It just was.
These people were violent. These weren't just regular customers. They were angry. They wanted things from me that I couldn't provide. They were stockpiling food.
Yeah.
And I'm 20 years old. I'm like, dude, I'm the manager now because the actual manager fucking quit.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
I'm just trying to deal with a guy who wants 20 pounds of burger individually wrapped so we can stockpile it for months later. Dude, we had to start banning people for that shit. And then when we started telling people you can't do that, they get violent with you and they start fighting you.
Yeah, yeah. As if that's where you want to be dealing with that.
Yeah, as if I'm trained to deal with a guy who wants to fight me over steaks.
People are crazy. We need to stop seeing each other as the enemy and start really understanding the plight of other people.
That's why I get so
and
mad.
It's something that's very hard when you're younger. I didn't see it. I thought all old people were fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And I selfishly lived my life, but it's very hard for me not to understand what other people are going through. And no, show me the thing your government has done successfully and has made prosperous for everybody, and then we can talk.
Yeah.
And since none of you can show me that, why would you want to give them any more power than they already abuse? Why would you want to give them the ability to shut down small businesses? You realize that had the potential to destroy middle America. And I understand no one in the left coast or in Manhattan gives a shit about you.
No.
But I do. And I don't care where I am in the world. I'm going to think about that. We've all driven across this country and seen what small towns in America look like.
Oh, your big box stores and your
Yeah.
your multi-million-dollar donors, they survived just fine.
Yeah, of course they did. And they got special carve-outs and special treatment, and they were never in jeopardy. But, you know, I still feel for the mom in a 500-square-foot apartment in New York or Detroit.
I do now.
With 2 kids that you know, is wondering where the formula is going to come from next. And, like, you know, you think about what they have. And you know, we were in a very blessed situation. It's like the kids around me have every gaming system ever invented, and they've got a backyard they can run around in and not be within a mile of anybody.
Yep.
Like they had shit to do, and yeah, it's just
it just made me so mad when I heard those things, because I had people telling me it was my fault that COVID was spreading. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about,
People are
motherfucker?
insane. But
It's
Terry,
my fault.
I think Terry that you're spot on about the voting stuff, and good luck in Oregon. You know that I don't know what you guys are doing out there, but it's beautiful.
Becoming
I
part
hope
Canada.
they don't. I hope you guys don't end up fucking that thing all up. But anyway, why don't we call it there? We did almost 2 hours today, so
yeah.
that's got to be worth something. And I believe we'll be back tomorrow. So
Yep.
Something to look forward to. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We will be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.